Welcome to SoulRise Stories, where real people, real struggles, and real motivation come to life. Let's begin today's inspiring journey. The Battle Within, How a Boy Conquered His Darkest Urge. There was once a boy named Haris, a 17-year-old dreamer from a small town in America. On the outside, Haris looked like any other student: clean clothes, tired eyes, a notebook full of unfinished dreams. But inside, a storm was brewing. He wasn't fighting exams, or bullies, or poverty. He was fighting something far more dangerous himself. Every day, Haris would wake up with a goal to study harder, to focus on his future, to build something great. He wanted to become a YouTuber, a digital entrepreneur, a voice for the youth. But every night, when the lights were off and the world went silent, his inner demons whispered temptations in his ear, desires that distracted him, desires that drained his energy, desires that made him feel weak, ashamed, and defeated. These weren't just thoughts, they were chains, invisible, but strong enough to keep him locked in a cycle of guilt and regret. One more time won't hurt, the voice would say. You can still become successful later. But deep inside, Haris knew later never comes. Every time he gave in, his goals slipped further away. His motivation faded, his confidence shattered. One night, after falling into the same trap again, Haris stared at the ceiling and whispered to himself, "Am I just a slave to this feeling? Will I ever be free?" His chest was heavy, not from sin, but from the weight of broken promises to himself. He had big dreams, and yet here he was stuck in a cycle no one could see, no one could understand. But that night, something changed. He stood up, walked to the mirror, and said out loud, "I'm not weak. I'm just not fighting hard enough." It was the first time he stopped blaming the temptation and started holding himself accountable. The next morning, Haris deleted all the apps, unfollowed every toxic page, and turned off his phone. Not because he had already changed, but because he wanted to. He wrote down his dream in big bold letters on a paper and stuck it to his wall. Main Haris Hoon, Pakistan ka future Hoon, or Dunya Muj Yad Rakigi Inshallah. And every time the urge returned, he stared at that line. And it hurt, but it helped. Days turned into weeks, and the fight didn't get easier, it got uglier. His body craved comfort, his mind made excuses, his heart felt lonely. But every time he survived a day, he felt a little stronger. He started journaling his struggle, not for the world, but for himself. Day 1, I survived the night. Day 5, I cried but didn't break. Day 12, the urges came like a flood, but I swam harder. By day 30, Haris looked different. Not physically, but spiritually. His eyes had fire, his hands had purpose, his prayers had depth, and his voice had strength. One day, his younger cousin asked him, "Bhai, how do you stay so focused?" Haris smiled and replied, "Because I know what it feels like to be lost." That line hit hard, because it was true. He had been to the lowest points of self-control. He had felt the shame of broken promises. But he refused to let that version of himself win. He started a YouTube channel, not about motivation, but about real struggles. He called it The Battle Within. No flashy thumbnails, no fake smiles. Just real talk, real pain, real healing. His first video was titled, How I Escaped the Prison of My Own Desires. It went viral. Thousands of boys messaged him, "Bye, I thought I was alone. Thank you for saying what I couldn't." I cried after watching this, but Haris didn't stop there. He made a rule. Every time he felt the temptation return, he'd use that energy to create, not destroy. He'd write a script, make a thumbnail, go for a walk, or pray with full heart. He turned weakness into wisdom, distraction into direction, urges into action. He wasn't a saint. He still stumbled. But now, every time he fell, he got back up stronger. He wasn't perfect, but he was conscious. And that made all the difference. Because the real war wasn't with the outside world, it was inside him. And every day he chose to fight. Soon, his channel grew. His story reached young men in Saudi Arabia, India, UK, U.S. boys who were silently battling the same war. Haris didn't become famous overnight, but he became respected, and that mattered more. He once said in a podcast, "If you can master your desires, you can master the world." At 22, Haris launched a mentorship program called Rise Above the Urge. Not religious, not preachy, just real. Brothers helping brothers build discipline, purpose, and dreams. And it all started with one broken night, one line in the mirror, and one decision. I will no longer be a slave. The truth is, desires never die. They evolve, but so do we. And Haris proved that it's not about being desireless. It's about being powerful enough to rise above them. That's strength. That's masculinity. That's leadership. So if you, like Haris, feel trapped in a cycle no one talks about, remember this. You're not alone. You're not broken. And you're definitely not hopeless. The urges will come. The battles will continue. But you have a choice: fight or fall. And if you fight, even once, you've already begun to win. Thanks for watching. Stay strong. Stay real. Stay rising. SoulRise Stories.